ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Good morning, this is Arlene and you're listening to Duran ASEAN, the voice of discovery and sharing. So our ASEAN Daily today, we are going to bring you news from Southeast Asia. First stop, let's go to Myanmar. So Myanmar president is warning of Arab Spring style violence. A video posted of the Facebook page of the Myanmar's president raises the specter of bloodshed and chaos akin the Arab Spring aftermath if it loses power on Sunday polls, and he has drawn an angry response on social media. The video juxtaposes scenes of recent violence in the Middle East with shots of seeming tranquility and development in Myanmar during its transition towards a democracy backed by a heavy metal soundtrack. It ends with the word, "Only when peace prevails with democratization will be implemented." It was about the transformation of Myanmar into a democratic country. This is according to the director of the president's office, Zo Tae. And Thein Sein, a former general and of course the current president of Myanmar, and the ruling army-backed USDP party have positioned themselves as the guarantors of Myanmar's stable progress as it shakes off decades of military rule. Moving on to another election news about Myanmar. Election brings hope, fear for Myanmar refugees who are unfortunately stuck in limbo. For refugees from Myanmar living in camps just across the border in Thailand, a landmark election in their homeland triggers mixed emotions. Hope that a hated government will be defeated. Some residents have been living in the camps for 30 years. Nearly 80% are ethnic Karen from eastern Myanmar who fled armed conflict and often persecution at the hands of the Myanmar army during decades of military rule. None of those in the camps will be able to vote. Most importantly to them, in any case, is a nationwide ceasefire agreement signed between Myanmar's government and the 8 armed ethnic groups last month. If the refugees are to return at an end to fighting, the withdrawal of troops and security of the land tenure are just some of the conditions they need. Something no party can guarantee, at least not in the near future. From Myanmar, we move on to Vietnam. Vietnam urged to redraft oppressive religious freedom laws. Religious freedom in Vietnam is under threat from a new law on belief and religion, according to a joint statement from a number of faith groups. The provisions of the draft law, if passed, would act as a powerful instrument of control, placing sweeping, overly broad limitations on the practice of religion or belief within Vietnam, perpetuating the already repressive situation. It goes on to highlight concerns about the draft law, such as the onerous requirements for registering religious organizations and excessive state control over the internal affairs of religious groups. CSW said that these restrictions are incompatible with the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights, or the ICCPR, to which Vietnam is a party. The law would empower the government to intrusively monitor religious organizations, and because of its broad and ambiguous language, could be used as a basis for discrimination against minority groups. This is what was being warned by civil societies in Vietnam. Malaysia is also calling on ASEAN to stay united over the rising tension on the South China Sea. This is another news that is also going to be a huge agenda in the upcoming ASEAN summit. And Malaysian Defence Minister Hishammuddin Hussein a call on his counterparts from Southeast Asia to stay united as one in dealing with the superpowers like the US and China, as defense ministers from 10 ASEAN member countries gathered for an annual retreat ahead of meetings on Wednesday with their dialogue partners, China and the US. Malaysia's defense minister emphasized the importance of ASEAN's role in the region's peace and security. In fact, he said that our paramount concern is the security, stability and peace in the region. And how is Malaysia is going to engage with major powers is to engage them as a bloc. This is according to Hishammuddin when he talked about ASEAN as a whole, and he believed that this is very important because individually ASEAN may not have that much impact, but he personally believed that as the chair of the ASEAN defense ministerial meeting, and together with 10 nations engaging major powers, it could actually make a difference. But with the US ban on sending in warships to patrol the South China Sea to safeguard freedom of navigation, an act that has angered China, who see it as a direct military challenge, it is becoming increasingly difficult for ASEAN to stay neutral. And seems like things is still rolling on without any conclusion when it comes to the South China Sea tension. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll discuss further on the political side of Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene. You're back with me again on the ASEAN Daily. So, in Malaysia, we have a law called Sosma, where the act was introduced to deal with terrorism. This is according to Tan Sri Gani Patail. The Security Offences Special Measure Act, or short for Sosma, which was introduced in 2012, was not introduced to suppress political freedoms. And Sosma was introduced, in fact, to deal with terrorism and other security offences. It was not intended to guillotine parliamentary democracy or suppress political freedom. He said at the Malaysian bars on the forum titled Sosma, Wolf in a Sheep's Clothing. The former Attorney General of Malaysia, who read from Hansard record of Prime Minister Najib Tun Razak's speech in the Parliament when Sosma was tabled, added in his speech at the forum that Sosma was clearly enacted to deal with terrorism and terrorist acts. Sosma was drafted for procedural matters. The detention powers are only for investigation purposes. He, however, declined to comment on the detention of former Batu Kawan UMNO Vice Chief Datuk Sri Khairuddin Abdul Hassan and his lawyer Meteor Chang, who are charged currently under the Sosma Act. He can't give his view at all on the matter before the courts. As a matter of policy, he does not comment on the matter. He said that generally speaking, Sosma has replaced the Internal Security Act as an alternative to detention without trial or preventative detention. This is because to combat terrorism is a holistic plan and methodology must be established. There were also guidelines drafted for the authorities to use guidelines for arrest, for electronic monitoring and the notification of next of kin. This is what he expressed, that there were safeguards built into Sosma. In fact, at the end, the matter has to be referred to the public prosecutor or the person has to be released. Reading from Najib's 2012 speech in Parliament, Abdul Ghani said that there were further safeguards that were written into Sosma, including a committee that would include the Malaysian Bar Council President. You should ask where the committee is. Where are the checks and balances? He added that he had questioned why detention period was being set at 28 days when he was still the Attorney General. When a similar law was being tabled in the UK, they were also toying with the idea of 28 days. When he was the Attorney General, he asked for the rationale, but no one actually could tell him why it was set on that particular numbers of days. And he continued to serve as a judicial and legal service officers until his mandatory retirement on October 6. Just a bit of a background on the former AG Tan Sri Gani Patail. On the other hand, Malaysia needs image restoring. This is according to the Prime Minister's brother, which is Nazir Razak. He's also the chairman of Malaysian Banking, CIMB. He said that political uncertainty facing the government led by his elder brother is the biggest concern for foreign investors looking at the once stable Southeast Asian country. Speaking to Reuters on Saturday at a country club on the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur, where his bank was hosting a golf tournament, the 48-year-old Nazir said that the central issue for Malaysia was restoring its reputation for political stability. Issues such as 1MDB scandal as somehow taking a course that has changed the confidence of the foreign investors to Malaysia. Nevertheless, he did not discuss his brother's political problem, but said investigation into 1MDB should be concluded quickly and the findings should be made public if the government is going to restore confidence in the way Malaysia is being run. Moving from Malaysia to Manila, Manila Uber riders may now pay cash. That's kind of cool. Taxi operators in Manila, you better buck up because Uber is serious in giving you a run for your money. Uber today announced that it is expanding its cash payments trial to Manila. This makes the Philippines the 5th country globally and the 2nd in Southeast Asia where Uber is conducting the experiment. It has well known for its seamless payment system that requires users to pay via credit card, but this has limited its reach. Less than 5% of Filipinos own credit cards. Now the company is accepting cash to reach a new customer. Having the option of paying with cash is really important for people in Metro Manila, so this is an exciting experiment for them. They want everyone to enjoy the hassle-free convenience of ordering a safe ride at a push of a button. This is according to Uber's general manager in the Philippines, Lawrence Chua. He added that the tests they have done in India, Kenya, Saudi Arabia and Vietnam has been hugely successful. This cash experiment in the Philippines will give them more great insights and help them develop technology to best meet the needs of the Filipino riders. From Manila, we move on to the World Bank. World Bank Vice President hails Cambodia's growth and also poverty reduction. World Bank Vice President for the East Asia and the Pacific region, XL, Van Trossenberg, on Monday praised Cambodia for its high economic growth and rapid poverty reduction. XL expressed his appreciation during a meeting with the Prime Minister Hun Sen at the Peace Palace in the Cambodian capital of Phnom Penh. According to Ang So Philiet, an aide to the Prime Minister, he hailed Cambodia's high income growth, saying that in Asia, Cambodia's economy has rapidly grown and will continue to grow in upcoming years despite global economy complexity. For poverty reduction, the country's poverty rate has fallen to 13.5% in 2014 from 53.2% a decade ago. People living below poverty line are defined by an income of less than $1.25 per day. And we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll discuss further on the arts and culture side of Southeast Asia.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Welcome back. This is Arlene and you are back with me on our ASEAN Daily. And it is kind of an irony that in Thailand, an incredible green fireball meteor was caught on camera. This is something that never really happened in Southeast Asia. Whenever we think about fireballs and all these meteor dropping from the sky to Earth, usually we think about we think about countries outside of Southeast Asia. In fact, the incredible footage has emerged showing a fireball in green color dashing through the sky in the Thailand's capital of Bangkok on Monday evening. The Thai Astronomical Society confirmed on its Facebook page that the falling object was a bright green meteor, explaining that the color resulted from its chemical compound. In terms of science, the event is very rare. The non-profit added that on its public page, which linked to dashcam records of the event. The fireball is another term of a very bright meteor. The American Meteor Society writes on its website, adding that the vast majority of fireballs occur over oceans and uninhabited regions, and that is really rare to detect one at night and in the middle of capital city of Thailand. And finally, about FIFA, they are holding talks with Jokowi on lifting ban. President Joko Widodo decided on Monday to set up a special team to address ways to lift World Soccer governing body FIFA's suspension of the Soccer Association of Indonesia, which was imposed last May. The decision to create a special team came in response to FIFA's request for the Indonesian government to revoke the freeze on the PSSI dated April 17, 2015, so that in return, FIFA would lift its sanctions on Indonesia. FIFA says to do it as soon as possible. This is according to Jokowi. He said that he will do what he can and as soon as possible, following a meeting with FIFA and the ASEAN Soccer Confederation, or short for AFC, at the Presidential Palace, as quoted by Tempo.com. And an article in the FIFA statute states that the governments should not intervene in countries' soccer federations. Youth and Sports Minister Imam Nahrawi, who was also present at the meeting, said that the FIFA understood the government's decision to freeze the Soccer Association of Indonesia. And in fact, he added that it is good that FIFA listens to the input of all parties. So hopefully things will go on smoothly, and I'm sure a lot of Indonesians want Indonesia to still be part of the FIFA's membership to be FIFA's membership and to be part of the world soccer, obviously. Anyway, that's all from us today, and thanks for listening to us, and always catch us on our social media and listen to us on our podcast. You can go to YouTube, or you can also go to your mobile and download our Durian ASEAN app, where you can listen on the go live. And that's all from me today. Catch us on durianasean.com tomorrow, same day, where we'll bring you the same ASEAN Daily news fresh from Southeast Asia.